This isn't exactly original, but I can do what I want. What are the 10 best staple spells in Duel Links? Question loaded like Infernity Doomslinger. It depends, damn it. But we're going over the meta, which feels like a black hole with a little pink stain on it right now. Honestly, it's an interesting meta bolstered by banish mechanics and fusion summoning. It's a unique boy. So let's rank some staple spell cards for this meta. Get ready for a lot of trap card slander. Honorable mention to the farm deck MVP, Power of the Guardians. You can try and sneak a Tretch past me, the gold series you stole from the Museum of Bullshit, but then I'm gonna point this Night Beam right at you, caught red-handed trying to dish up a one-card victory. You're done, you're arrested, you're beamed. A normal spell that specifically targets and destroys a set spell or trap card and prevents your opponent from responding to Night Beam with that set card. So on paper, the card is really legit, and it still is, don't get me wrong. Back row destruction is half this list. It's just been power crept. It's slower than its alternatives and its targets are more specific. Just put it down. Ultra rare in Cybernetic Rebellion. The first of the disrespectful space storms that can't keep it in their own damn cosmic local group. Get off my chain. Galaxy Cyclone is a normal spell card that specifically destroys a face down card like Night Beam. It also has the same speed, being a normal spell, so why is Galaxy Cyclone higher? Well, it comes from the hole. Except for the turn that it was sent there, Galaxy Cyclone can banish itself from the graveyard to target a face-up spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. So it's a 2-for-1, and that's why it's higher than Night Beam. Issue is, of course, it's slower and more situational than some of its other alternatives. What if your opponent controls a face-up spell when you want to get rid of a set one first, and vice versa? Like Night Beam, it's the victim of power creep, but it's useful more often than not. Removal of choice for photons, since they can directly search it with their skill, and that 2-for-1 can be devastating. It's just a shame that the best target for its second effect actually negates it in Necro Valley. Ultra rare in Gaia Genesis, a selection box volume 2, and it has a bundle deal. So picture this, you're walking, minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, Lightning Vortex is a card that ends games. Discard a card to destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls on a normal spell. Long-standing, great value Raigeki, which of course means it's great in Duel Links. When I played Infernities, and if I didn't have Barrier, I hated this card, because uninterrupted against a board of 3 face-up monsters, you basically win, but it can also just get rid of problematic monsters like Organic Guardian or Cyber Slash. Doesn't have to be that extreme. Problem with the card is that discard cost, man. Not a lot of decks want to accommodate that, so it mostly sees play in decks that don't mind that, like Blue Eyes or even Thunder Dragons as of late. It's just a little too slow, and that cost makes decks look at it sideways, keeping the man on the back end of this list, despite being a very devastating staple. It's a super rare in Sign of Heartbeats and Selection Box Volume 5. At this point, enemy controller is just like the staple. Free to play, seen play ever since Twin Long Rods was meta, quick play spell card that has 2 effects that you get to choose to activate. Either change the battle position of a monster your opponent controls, or tribute one of your own monsters to take control of one of your opponent's face-up sidemen up until the end phase. It can be offensive, it can be defensive, it can force that glorified pageant queen runner-up to bounce herself back to its authoritarian nest, just so you don't get your hands on it. Really, the card is excellent and accessible. Every deck can use it, even if it's just to protect yourself by switching an opponent's attacking monster to defense mode, assuming that you didn't want to tribute one of your own, or you could use it during the battle phase to take an opponent's monster with a high attack by tributing one of yours with a low attack. And then I feed your opponent more defeats than the Slifer Slacker Chumley, a completely free-to-play card. The Forbidden cards were basically a line of spells designed to be staples, a sneaky, spoiled Heaven Daughter that can't stop stealing God's shit until he's had enough and then they're bestowed down to us. And Forbidden Lance is an unorthodox but still worthy member of the Spell and Trap Hatred train. Quick play spell card that targets any face-up monster, and for the turn it loses 800 attack but is immune to all other spell and trap cards. So instead of smashing their back row with blunt weapons, you're letting them see themselves themselves out. Oh, you want to karma cut my Rocket Warrior? How about nah? Then your opponent just lost 2 cards to lower your Rocket Warrior's attack points by 800. In a way, it's better than other spell and trap hate since your boss monster could be immune to everything your opponent has set, but Lance often creates long chain sequences because of its effect. Because if your opponent attempts to floodgate your monster and you chain Lance, and then they chain another floodgate, the second floodgate will activate first since activations in a chain resolve in reverse, and your monster will get flipped down before Lance makes it immune to that. But even then, your opponent just wasted 2 trap cards on one monster, and this is rare, but you could also use it offensively by targeting an opponent's monster and reducing its attack by 800, and or make it immune to its own equip spell in certain situations. Ultra rare in Valhalla Calling in Selection Box Volume 2 Mini, and has a bundle deal alongside number 5. Forbidden Chalice is the chocolate milk vessel for God himself that this stole for her own satisfying adventure down the Yoo-hoo wormhole. Like Lance, it's a quick play spell card that can target any monster on the field. Its effects are negated and it gains 400 attack until the end phase. Negating a monster's effect on your opponent's turn is so good. They go for some break sword seismic toss shenanigans. Drink up, boy. No deep sea diva getting water exceed going. No channeler summoning those filthy representatives of the winged beast type. You have to time it right and negate the right monster effect at the right time, but when and if you do, you can just win from that. Like Lance, you can use this card offensively or defensively. In trains, I mentioned that you can use this on Knight Express Knight, who has 3000 attack but is reduced to 0 when you normal summon him with his effect. Hit him with a Chalice, he goes up to 3400 wedge. Good example of using the card on your own monster for your own benefit. Maybe even all you need is 400 points to lethal, you never know. Disruption is its biggest claim to fame though. I rank it higher than Lance because I feel that negating monster effects in this meta is slightly more valuable, and Chalice has less competition than Lance. Lance has to compete with almost half of this list, where Chalice is a more reliable and consistent quick play for disruption than enemy controller, and really only has its bread challenged by one other card on this list. Super rare in Servants of Kings and Selection Box 1 Mini, as well as the aforementioned double bundle deal, which if you decide to pay money on this game, there are not many things worth more than the Lance Chalice bundle, especially for that clean ass mat. Mystical Space Typhoon speaks for itself. Destroy one spell or trap card on the field on a quick play is never gonna not be good, it can only be power crept, which MST has not been since its release. It just has good competition. I don't have much to say. The majority of decks want to clear out your opponent's sins. So well known and used throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's conception, it has earned the abbreviation nickname MST. Why it's lower than one of its alternatives I'll get to, but one of the most splashable cards in Duel Links. Ultra rare in Atomic Theory and Selection Box Mini Volume 3. Cosmic Cyclone is often seen as power crept since MST came to the game. Similar card, pay $1,000 to banish a spell or trap card on the field. So it has a cost, unlike MST, but then sends spell and trap cards to a place where no one is getting to it, except Metaphys, I guess. I don't think it's power creep, I think they're even, and which one is better depends on the meta. And in this meta, I think Cosmic Cyclone is better. So downsides, paying 1000 life points and the fact that the card is limited to 3, so you can't run it alongside Floodgate Trap Hole, Alistair, Levianeer, things like that. But it hardly matters because with trap cards like the top tier Phantom Knights of Fogblade and Phantom Knight Sword have great graveyard effects. Banishing those cards so those effects can't resolve is super valuable, and against Phantom Knights can prevent you from losing sometimes. Or banishing Super Team Buddy Force Unite so it can't float into another copy of itself. But also, paying 1000 life points can proc skills, like any of the Draw Sense skills or Master of Rites as examples, so you can turn that cost into a huge benefit for yourself. Used correctly, Cosmic Cyclone can do a lot, and in my opinion is slightly better than MST in this meta. It's debatable, but that's how I see it. Ultra rare in Galactic Origin, as well as Selection Box Volume 1 Mini, and also has a bundle deal. Okay, listen, I know a lot of you expected and or think this is number 1, and while Monster Reborn is the strongest staple in the game in terms of sheer power, its strength has worked against it in ways and has now left me to justify it being number 2. Special summon a monster from either player's graveyard on a normal spell. It can do so much. It can extend combos by reviving monsters you need, revive your boss monster if your board is broken, revive an opponent's boss monster if you break their board. I've even used it to special summon Kiteroid from my opponent's graveyard so they couldn't banish it to prevent themselves from losing. It's so versatile, it's so strong, but it being limited to 1 holds it back more than you'd think. Phantom Knights don't really need Reborn. Sometimes, very rarely they run it, but the vast majority of the time they don't. Gandora does not run it because if they are running a spell card and it's limited to 1, they would prefer Melody of Awakening Dragon anyway. Buster Blader doesn't run it. Sometimes it's rare. Abyss Actor likes Storm, another limited to 1 spell card, a lot more. I don't run it in Necroz because Valkyris is just much more valuable. And not to mention, Necro Valley is seeing a lot of tech play and is the best anti-meta card that also just so happens to shut Reborn down completely. None of this takes away from how good the card is. It's number 2, wins games by itself, probably shouldn't even be in the game, but in this specific meta, I think its power level overall has dwindled. But it's still Monster Reborn, free-to-play card that was given out to everyone. Alright, we're here, the elusive, the holy grail, the majestic and legendary Book of Moon, that apparently wasn't available in the last Dream Ticket. Whoops. Considered for a while to be the pay-to-win card until it got a main box release, and even then it is the most sought-after card in the game. Which is why the next time Dream Tickets roll around, and it is 100%, I promise this time, it will be available in the next Dream Ticket, it wouldn't surprise me if 80% of tickets were used on it. Flip a monster on the field face down on a quick effect. It does what Chalice can do for disruption. It can protect you from losing. You can flip one of your own monsters down to reset its effects. Switch a monster down whose defense you can beat over, but attack you cannot. The card defines versatility, and unlike Reborn and Cosmic Cyclone, Book of Moon has no restrictions whatsoever. It very consistently sees play at 2 or 3 copies in Phantom Knights, Harpies, Buster Blader, Water Exceed, Ritual Beast, etc. Honestly, it's good in anything. It's also been able to transcend meta status, it seems. It's good no matter what is going on and doesn't have many direct counters. And for those reasons, I genuinely think Book of Moon is the best staple spell card in Duel Links. It's an ultra rare in Chaotic Soldiers and Selection Box form. So that's gonna do it for this top 10 video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more top 10s from me and my style of content, just let me know and I will see you in my next video.